Hi everyone, it's Tori Kasuda. If you are familiar with Dark Souls 3 at all, you know how linear the progression is compared to the other games. Here's the normal progression path for reference. And you can see it only has a couple branching paths, most of which being required for progression anyways. So it's safe to say that you don't have many choices when it comes to progression, but if we add the DLC on the map, we now have a tad bit more progression. However, if you look closely, we can see that the Ring City is accessible before we would have to fight the Abyss Watchers. So that raises the question, can you beat Gael before the Abyss Watchers? Before we begin, I do want to just point out that we are really close to 1k subs, so if you would please subscribe, it would mean a lot to me. The starting class and gift doesn't really matter that much, but just for content and padding out the video just a few seconds longer, I start as the Knight with the Divine Blessing. In the Cemetery of Ash, we pick up the Ashen Estus Flask, and then head for the demonic Titanite Lizard. Killing them gets us the first Titanite skill of the run. Gundyr is Gundyr, act as his alarm clock, then parry and smack him around. In Firelink, go ahead and allot your Estus to what fits you, and then buy a Prism Stone and a Leather Shield from the merchant. Go outside and perform the tree jump to get on top of the roof, and go ahead and give Pickle P the Prism Stone and Shield for 2 Twinkling Titanite. While up here we can pick up another Estus Shard and the Silver Serpent Ring. Behind Firelink we can kill this Titanite Lizard for another Twinkling Titanite. Lastly, before leaving the High Wall, go ahead and get your Dex to 18 for later. Not too much here in the High Wall, just run past everyone and go get the Estus Shard and drop down for a few embers. Vor is our first real boss, but Vor barely poses a threat, so just stay under or behind him and do charged R2s for maximum damage. If you feel like you need it, feel free to pick up some of the Titanite shards in the area to get a +1 or even a +2. In Vort's second phase, just dodge through the charge 3 times, then get behind him for the laser. After Vort's death, don't forget to pick up the banner and then go to the Undead Settlement. In the settlement we can pick up a few useful goodies such as another Estus Shard and the first Undead Bone Shard. The next boss is going to be Tree Balls, and the fight is pretty simple even with the +0 weapon I'm using. Focus on the plus balls and after breaking 2, fall down and pop the rest. This nets us the soul of the Cursed Rod Greatwood and the Transposing Kiln. Head back to Firelink and give Ludloth the Kiln and use this newly obtained soul for the Hollow Slayer Greatsword. There is a plethora of weapons Gael is weak to, however in this run I'll be using 3, one of which being the Hollow Slayer Greatsword. With our new weapon, we can go ahead and get to a +1 before heading off. Make sure you have at least 14 strength and 18 dex to use it, and for any future levels, I would go ahead and focus on dex and vigor. Lastly, before the Road of Sacrifices, go ahead and kill the Ethereal Knight for the Ethereal Straightsword. The Road of Sacrifices isn't all that interesting in terms of goodies for us. Grabbing the Kareem Tome by the 2 dogs will save a bit of time for later, and on the short path to the swamp we pick up the Grasscrest Shield, an Estus Shard, and the Fallen Knight swag. Down in the actual swamp, straight ahead is an Estus Shard, and continuing up the path we can extinguish the first flame. Right up ahead is the second flame and the next bonfire. Down the ramp and a little bit to the right is the second Undead Bone Shard we can pick up. Up by the Old Wolf of Farron bonfire, we can kill another Titanite Lizard for 1 more Twinkling. If you're in need of more souls, you can go up top and kill the Stray Demon for 25,000 souls. Extinguishing the last flame opens up the door for us to take out another Demonic Titanite Lizard for 2 more scales, getting us to a +2. With all the gathering finished, we can take on the Crystal Sage, and with a +2 weapon, it's safe to say we melt her. Just be aware of the magic, and take out the clones first before attacking the main body in phase 2. After the Sage, we can kill another 2 Crystal Lizards for 2 more Twinkling Titanite. Afterwards, just skip past everything and make it to the bonfire room with Gael. We can ignore him for now and just continue on down the path. Note here how I interact with this door right here. Outside, kill the Hollows by the well and pick up another Estus Shard. And past the gate we can drop down to the small river and we can get another Twinkling and Scale by killing the normal and demonic lizard respectively. After upgrading and heading back, I can see that the door is somehow closed and I can't open it. So if Dark Souls 3 didn't have warping, I'd be soft-locked. Gotta love Dark Souls 3 sometimes. After going back up the long way, we head to the birch tree and pick up another Undead Bone Shard, and inside, by the not-so-gentle giant, we can snag Lloyd's Sword Ring. Last thing on the list is to kill the Deacons for a little bit of extra souls. Now, with normal progression in Dark Souls 3, that's all we could do before the Abyss Watchers, but I never said we were going to do normal progression. Heading back to the High Wall, we can do some first-degree murder and get us some fine china. Unfortunately, the Dancer doesn't want us to have said fine china, so we have to take on the Dancer. Dancer at our current level isn't exactly hard, just more tedious than anything. The damage is manageable, but could be better. Even while embered, she can still take us out in 2 to 3 hits, so manage your health and don't be afraid to heal. Best advice I can give is stick behind her for the most part and watch out for the AoEs and delayed attacks. I wasn't having much luck, so I switched over to the Ethereal Straight Sword, and 2 attempts later she goes down. With Dancer down, we have access into Lothric Castle, which just means more upgrade materials for us. First stop in the castle is Osiris' Pus Garden, and the worst part of being in this area is being in this area, but we do get 2 upgrades here, which is an Estus Shard and a Titanite Scale. So I made a mistake and forgot to record this next part because I have the brain of a rock apparently. So you're going to get the great old Tory MS Paint remake. I take on Osiris, making sure to do as many cool moves as possible that sadly you don't get to see. I even no-hit him. And pick up 2 more scales after his boss room. Afterwards, I engage in the most action-packed fight that anyone has ever had with the demonic lizards. Gosh, it was so cool. I was doing flips, and they were bashing through walls, and I almost died, and oh god, I had like a main character moment where I cried a tear and got back up with all of my strength, and then I killed him and got 4 other Titanite scales. And we're back in time to parry Gundyr to hell and back. With Gundyr dead, we can head up into Lothric Castle and go past the dragons into a basement room and steal 2 Twinkling Titanite and a Titanite Scale from an Ethereal Knight. Below the bridge, we can pick up the last Undead Bone Shard and 2 more Twinkling Titanite from another wizard. In the Firebomb room, taking out the DS2 Mimic gets us another 3 scales. Heading back to Firelink, I buy the last weapon, and the weapon that is the greatest weapon I've ever held. The Torch. With the best weapon in my back pocket, we head upstairs to the Dragon Slayer armor. And for this fight, all you need is the Ethereal Straight Sword, just 3 hits and you'll deal a bit of frost damage and just hit him once with the torch and repeat. With all the main game bosses dealt with, it's time for us to head into the DLC. As some of you might know, I despise the Ashes of Ariandel DLC, so I run past everything here and make it to the 3rd bonfire. By doing a few swag jumps and walking across the roof, we can trigger Vilheim to spawn, and finally I can get the fight I deserve and not push him off the edge with a fucking torch. One lengthy fight later where I got my ass kicked, and we go up the hill and spin the wheel in the Blood Room. Before I actually take on Freed, there's one small bit of prep I want to do. Firstly, I head back to the Undead Settlement and drop down by Egon to save Marina. By giving her the prayer book from earlier, we can buy the spell Tears of Denial, which saves us from death once. I held off on getting this spell because I didn't want to rely on it, and I also just kind of forgot. Lastly, break the bridge and head to the depths of the painting, go all the way to the left and kill this tree, which spawns a ladder that takes us up to the Titanite slab. We could have had a slab earlier by trading the coiled sword fragment to the Pickle Pea, but instead we can just get this free one. With a +5, we can take on Sister Freed, a fight that's more drawn out than any of the other 3 DS3 bosses combined. I would love to go into a rant about why she's a terrible boss, but I'll save your ears for now. Instead, I'll just talk about how I'm getting my ass kicked. Like Dancer, I'm dying in about 3 hits, and I don't want to Ember because I plan to save them for Gael. The first phase isn't too bad, just play defensively. You can usually hit her if you're right next to her after one of her attacks, and when she decides to go invisible and jump away, look for the snow trail and the snow cloud when she lands, and you can get a charged R2 and then either an R1 or an uncharged R2. Repeat this, and phase 1 is like clockwork. However, the second phase is when this fight goes to shit. Father Ariandel is a crawling hunk of mass that just likes to swing his large bowl of soup around, so better not get hit by that or you'll lose half your health or more. Don't get me started on Freed, where she constantly covers the floor in ice you can barely see because of Father. And not only that, if she gets close to Father, she starts swinging, which you can't dodge, either because Father's jank collision, or you can't even see her swing because she's on the other side of Father, and her scythe just magically goes through him. But let's say you manage to kill Father, well, now you're left with Freed's last health bar, and likely not enough SS left, and she does more damage and dodges around more, so you just gotta love this fight. After dying too many times, I just say fuck it and summon Gael, which I do for another fight in the future as well. With Gael taking aggro in phase 2, we can get to phase 3 pretty easily, and with the help of the Red Hood, we take Freed down and have access to the Dread Keep. In the drug heap, we have plenty of goodies to pick up along the way to the Demon Princes. Speaking to the hag lets us get a couple more embers, and then by the first butterfly, we grab the Ring of Seal Protection +3. In the Peak Ruins, taking the branch shortcut and killing the butterfly host gets us our last bit of Twinkling Titanite for the Ethereal Straightsword. Heading backwards a bit, you can pick up the Fat Ring +3 for a boost of stamina and health. Nothing too special with the Demon Princes. I just summon Gael because I'm not in the mood to be railed by 2 demons and let Gael take care of one. Remember, it's always fun with more friends. Always take out the one in pain first so you get the laser variant of the Prince, as that is your best attack window. Once the Prince is dead, we can get to the real area of this DLC. There's nothing to grab before Half-Light, so just run past all the archers, ring knights, and heralds getting to the 3rd bonfire. The first encounter with Midir can be simplified with a high fire resistant shield or just sprinting into the little safe zone and then booking it to the Catacomb Tower. At the 4th bonfire, directly ahead is Midir, and the way I like dealing with him is getting under him and smacking his arms to just tank the damage. Once he goes down, Half-Light is right up next, and Half-Light is a contender for the worst boss in the series, and for that, his prize is death. Last thing before Gael is picking up the Chloranthony Ring +3, and now it's time to fight Gael before the Abyss Watchers. Gael is a tough boss, but the reason I picked these 3 weapons was because of how well they do in this fight. The Ethereal Straightsword does frost buildup like we established earlier, and Gael in his first phase is weak to frost. You could make the argument that Vord's Hammer is better due to the strike damage which Gael is weak to, but I didn't really want to upgrade 2 boss weapons in one run, so I settled on the Straight Sword. 5 hits procs Frost, which is a little over 300 extra damage. After that, pull out the God-Slaying weapon and smack Gael to reset the frost buildup. For phase 1, he usually only does 1 attack, sometimes following it up with 2 or 3. After he attacks is when you have your chance to smack him once or twice. The best attack chances in this fight is when he does his lunging thrust, which I like to roll in the direction he's headed, and then the ground stab, which he will do randomly or at the end of a combo. Second phase is when he gets a bit more aggressive. We almost double our damage with the Hollow Slider Greatsword because of the 20% extra damage to hollow monsters. In this fight, make sure you're dodging into him and as close as possible to avoid getting hit by the cape. He doesn't tend to follow up his attacks often, but make sure he's going back to his idle stance before attacking him. Thrusting R2 of this fight works rather well because of the stance damage staggering him. Phase 3 is when shit gets real. Gael becomes way more aggressive by coming straight to you and following up his attacks way more, but regardless the fight stays the same. You just have to be patient. Only do 1 attack when you can, or 2 if you get the stagger, and with enough patience you can kill Gael before the Abyss Watchers. Now, with Gael's soul, you can go back to Ludlith and get the strongest weapon before the Abyss Watchers. The Repeating Crossbow. Like always, thank you for getting this far and watching to the end. I don't know if you can tell by my voice, but I'm currently sick recording the outro. Thankfully, it's just the outro and not the other audio. But I appreciate it. Sorry this video came out late. I just went out of town and I couldn't get it out in time. But I got it done. Only like a day late, so hopefully it's not that big of a deal. I don't know what I'm going to do next for another video. I don't even know if it'll come out in a week. I try to. I just don't have any actual footage this time. So I can't guarantee there will be a video Sunday. I'd like to try and have a video out by then, but I just can't guarantee it. I have some ideas for some bigger projects though. Hopefully I can get those started soon. I might get it started this week. I might work on that instead of actually trying to get a video out. But we'll see. No promises, like always. Yeah, just thank you. Like I said earlier in the intro, I'm actually really close to 1,000 subscribers, so if I could get there by the end of the month, that's my goal. That would be so cool. And also, like, I only need like 1,200 more watch hours, then I can get memberships. So if you're listening to this outro and you're interested in memberships, let me know what you would want for memberships as well. I'm definitely thinking about, pushing uploads back a week and uploading them a day early. So or if I finish it in time, they go up Sunday. Or like members could get it out Saturday, and then normal upload Sunday, or members Saturday, and then normal upload Monday. No idea really, but let me know what you want. But that's about it. So thank you.